Everybody, whether you're the president of a company or the paperboy, everybody has the exact same amount of time. You and I both have 24 hours a day. No more, no less. The question is, what do you do with your time?
Real quick, my friends, go to zbooks.co and get my new book. It's called The Power to Publish. It's at the top of the page at the link My New Book. And it's going to help you publish your books. Okay, back to that podcast. Welcome to the Zbooks Successful Authors Podcast. And today, oh boy, I have another big one for you. This is going to be storytelling on steroids with the Grand Master, Kyle Gray. Welcome, Kyle. How are you?
Wow, that is such a great introduction. I'm doing great, and I'm so happy to be here with you, Eric. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
No problem. So I say this a lot, but it's true. I've been following you for a while and looking at your stuff, and I know you have I'm really scratching the iceberg here. Content marketing, and I'm a fan of Dan Norris. So when I saw your stuff, it was like, boom, that's right in the groove. So let's start with some basic stuff. Where are you?
Yeah, I am in Salt Lake City, Utah, in the United States. It's a lovely city, very close to some big mountains, and just this morning I woke up before the sunrise and hiked up a big mountain with a friend and went skiing down a mountain just first thing in the morning. And that's one of the beautiful things that I love about where I live.
Awesome. Not snowboarding?
I'm not a snowboarder. I've tried it. I tried it when I was younger for a couple of seasons, but my father was a ski patroller, and we've always been skiing, and so it was really uncomfortable to being on the same mountain and be going a lot more slower and be hurting a lot more because I'm falling all the time. So
well, you can do more on skis.
Yeah.
And you can recover the guys on the snowboards with skis, you know.
Yeah, on the flats. Yeah, it's always trouble for them.
Yeah. Either of them. I'm more into snowboarding, but I love skiing too, and especially in the powder. You got powder today?
Oh, yeah. There was a little bit of powder today. This month, February, probably we got more snow than we did all of last year combined. So nice. We've been having a lot of fun.
Cool. What brand of skis do you got?
I have a couple of skis. I have some called Armada, which is that's kind of a big brand, and then I have a couple called Forefront, which is actually a nice little local boutique company here that a friend of mine from Switzerland did an internship out here, and she was living with me. She was dating my best friend at the time. And so I got introduced to the company and was really excited to just see their nice kind of small batch skis. And so I got a couple of pairs of those.
Nice. Okay, I got to get off that tangent now. But you're in Utah. I have friends in Utah, so I know what you're talking about. And all right, the storyengine.co, for all of our listeners that don't know about Kyle, he's the Grand Master of the storyengine.co, and the storyengine.co/book is where you can get his new book, not new book, but his book. And if you go to the storyengine.co, you'll see this really good video. And Kyle is a great public speaker. How did you learn that?
That is a great question. And that has been a big part of my journey in the last 2 years or so. How did I learn it? That's a great question. I think about 10 years ago, kind of in my early college days, I was a singer-songwriter, and I was certain that the only way I was going to live a happy and fulfilled life was by playing music, writing songs, influencing people's lives with great lyrics, and coming up with brilliant melodies and all this kind of big aspirations. I played in some bands. Right. And we had some crazy rock sets, and I played just as by myself. And I had done a lot of world traveling during that time, and I had drug this blue acoustic guitar all over South America, you know, as I was traveling around. But anyway, the reason I say, how does that influence public speaking is I was always enjoyed giving performances, getting up in front of crowds and speaking and telling little jokes and telling stories between my songs and even creating great songs for people to experience. And though I never ended up becoming a rock star, I actually found that through creating a bunch of content, through doing writing, I was kind of working that same creative muscle that I had developed while doing songwriting, but there was still something missing. And I ended up seeing a webinar by a friend of mine named Pete Vargas, who was talking about how to use speaking as an incredible tool to grow your business.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when it kind of hit me again, like, oh, I can do this. This is part of me already. Like, I miss being up in front of audiences and speaking. So I was really attracted to it. And I purchased a course from Pete, and kind of over a couple of years, through relationship building, finding out where to add value, and you know, just communication and I don't know, seemingly basic things, I started working with Pete and Advance Your Reach, and I started using my content marketing skills at first to leverage those to help grow his business, and in exchange learn a little bit about what's going on. And one of the great side benefits of content marketing is the ability to, you just, whoever you're working with, you absorb a lot of their knowledge. And because you've got to be able to teach it, so you've got to know it well enough to put it, you know, so other people can understand it. And so I started picking up a lot of these things that way. And after a while, they invited me to help with their workshops, where people would come for 2 days to get training in either outreach campaigns to get on stages, and more recently, speaking on stages. So the video you saw of me speaking is a talk I developed for a speaking competition put on by this company. And since then, I've also been really well coached through Advance Your Reach and their head speaking coach, Pat Quinn, as well as have been able to work with hundreds of other different entrepreneurs in all different areas and help them tell the stories and create great presentations within the workshops I'm mentioning, and in the work that I do with my clients outside of Advance Your Reach.
Well, it shows, because I'm a member of Toastmasters, and I haven't been there for a while, but you know, new addition to the family, our son. So good excuse, right? Not really.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I would say you're an advanced Toastmaster. So you didn't even need the Toastmasters. You got some good coaching, and you're really in the groove there with what did you call it? The was it the company or the website?
Oh, yeah, the company's called Advance Your Reach, and
Advance Your Reach. And public speaking is part of it.
So yeah, their whole philosophy and approach is teaching people how to use stages, public speaking, as a marketing tool and a customer growth tool for their business.
That's one of my go ahead. Yeah.
So they help people develop great talks, get on stages, and set up your business in a way so that once you're on the stage and people are excited to work with you, that you can have a business set up to absorb that.
That's one of my next milestones. I want to integrate the public speaking. Like I said, I'm already in Toastmasters. So is public speaking part of your content marketing strategy?
I would say so these days. I think kind of overall, you hinted at Dan Norris. So I was working with him about 4 or 5 years ago. And that's when I really started in content marketing. And my philosophy on content has evolved a lot since then. And while I still believe like creating great, consistent content, be it written articles, videos, podcasts. I love podcasts.
Yeah.
I've got a podcast myself these days, and it's just so much fun to make this stuff.
What's the name?
It's called the Story Engine Podcast.
Excellent. Of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Where
We'll
do we
keep
find it?
It's also on the storyengine.co. It'll be it's listed under the blog. All the podcast episodes are there too. But so I'm all about creating content like this. But what I really love to create with the people I work with, it was difficult to work with other clients and help them develop a strategy or get results with content, because you just have to be really patient. It takes 6 months or longer to start seeing things happen. Yeah. And so I wanted to help people get results a lot faster. And so I started using the same storytelling ideas within the content, the articles or the podcasts or the videos that I would create, and started condensing them into a little more concise formats, like a great talk or a good webinar. And if you can use a couple really effective tools for storytelling, like showing through your stories why you care about your customer, why you're like them, and what you know or what's extraordinary about you and different about you that's going to help them solve their problem. And so through storytelling, and there's also tactics or approaches where just through talking or like telling a story about if somebody asks you a teaching point like, hey Kyle, what's the best way to promote content, then you could say, well, one of the clients that I work with, or one of my private coaching clients, Bill here, asked me, when's the best time to promote on Instagram? And I told him these things. And just mentioning little things like that, it doesn't sound salesy. It doesn't sound like you're pushing programs on anybody, but it makes people aware of what you do and what the next steps are with you. And so it really helps build awareness of what you're doing and how you can help people and how people can work with you without that awkward kind of transition that a lot of people have, whether you're on a webinar, whether you are on a call, or whether you are on a stage where it's people go from like, okay, now I've been teaching you all these things, now it's time for you to help me. Right? And so if we can set up presentations where people are entertained with good stories, that they resonate with the emotions, and you give them really good information that they feel like they can leave the webinar or whatever, the presentation with something that they can use right now, but also a big desire to, go deeper with this problem, then I think that's one of the fastest ways that you can grow a business, start to get some good traffic, good customers, and get things started. If you're just trying to, if you're just starting a business and you're just like making Instagram posts or writing articles and you're not really promoting or connecting or getting yourself out there, that's going to take a long time for you to get noticed. Whereas if you can get one good presentation and start making connections, saying, hey, you have an email list, can I present a webinar? Hey, I know you have a stage, can I present on this stage? There's ways that you can get in front of your audience a lot faster and start getting customers faster with good stories and concise teaching content. Okay, so this is awesome, but I have to rewind just a bit for the beginners out there. I really hate doing this, but let's take a step back and can you define what is content marketing? Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm happy to take it back a little bit. We definitely, it's easy when two people are kind of so immersed in the same ideas, it's easy to kind of go down these rabbit holes. Exactly. So content marketing is a very broad kind of marketing. And it's basically, the idea is creating attractive and useful content, be it videos, be it written articles, be it social media posts, be it images, helpful infographics, useful templates, anything that you can make essentially that other people can consume. And and use that as a way to attract people to your website, to build awareness about who you are, to build trust with who you are and what you do, and to show people how they can work with you. And so through that process, that usually takes the form of, creating consistent content, whether it's a weekly podcast or a video or writing an article every week, to build up a following and an audience of people who really enjoy your content. They enjoy your style. They enjoy your ideas and beliefs, and they want to learn more from you.
Mm-hmm. So one thing I was thinking about, content marketing is also free, right?
I would say almost all of content marketing is also free. It's kind of there's definitely a little bit of a line where sometimes some people charge a little bit, there's a free course and then there's a $7 course, and that's still content. But so it's kind of hard to draw the line, but I would say most of the time it's free.
Yeah. Because once we get into paid advertising, well, then we're somewhere else, aren't we?
Definitely.
Okay. So content marketing is pretty broad. What is, do you have a favorite channel? You mentioned podcasting.
I'm definitely into podcasting these days. I think I think one of the things I enjoy the most about podcasting is the connections with your guests that you make. That was actually what got me really excited. It's not a very good, maybe it is a good content marketer, but really the thing that's always gotten me excited about good content is is the opportunity to collaborate with people. That's been something I did when I was doing written articles, finding ways to incorporate other people's ideas into my work and then letting them know, and then drumming up new ideas. That's I have a system actually called the harvest method, which is the subject of that talk I was giving that we had mentioned earlier. But it's all about just a process for building relationships and creating opportunities with other people in your space. And alongside having a good presentation, I think this is one of the fastest ways to really start getting results in your content. And so the basic idea of the harvest process is we've got 4 simple steps. And the first one is plow the field. And that kind of means just knowing where you sit in your industry, who the other people are, and starting to do your research on how you could help people, where everybody is. And then the next part is just planting the seed. It's finding ways to lead with value and say, hey, I made this for you, or just creating something useful and valuable for these people, or mentioning them, giving freely to, again, these aren't our audience members. These are other influencers, other people who maybe have bigger followings than you or bigger email lists, but have an audience that you want to connect with. Right. So by mentioning them in your articles, helping promote their content, linking to their stuff, or inviting them onto your podcast, which is one of my favorite ways to do it these days, is the first way to kind of start that conversation and find ways to collaborate more together. Maybe it's co-writing an article or interviewing them and then turning that into an article, something that something that they would really love to share. And so the next step 3, is all about coming up with a way that makes it really easy for them to say yes, which I call fertilizing the soil. So here's what I mean by that. I could reach out to somebody who is really well known in the publishing space and say, hey, can we, co-write an article about self-publishing together? Yeah. And I can just ask them that. But really, if I ask them that means, hey, will you think about me and what I'm good at and you and what you're good at, and then figure out how we both, fit together and what ideas we could talk about in this article and how we're going to work together, and then determine a time, it's not really what you're asking or what you intend to ask, but just because you like leave so much kind of open-ended, they're asking all these questions and it becomes a very unattractive idea. But if you
Yeah.
say, hey, I've already put together this great article and I noticed that you said this here. I'd love to interview you for just 15 minutes so I could turn that into a great quote for my article. Can we talk, tomorrow?
Yeah.
Then it's like, oh yeah. So all I have to do is say yes. There's no more thinking there, because one of the most limited resource everybody has, but it becomes increasingly limited as you become increasingly successful as an entrepreneur, is just time and attention and your decision making abilities, those smart juices. You only get so many of those per day in your brain. And so you want to go easy on other people's brain juices if you can.
Time is the new currency, huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
sorry,
then,
I interrupted you. We were on number 4, or no?
Number 4 is harvest and feast. That's when you create something that sounds, it's when you create something that you're both proud of, you're both excited about, and you're both thrilled to share it with your audience. So that everybody wins. And that is the foundation of a good friendship that you could then use maybe later on. Again, I don't since we're talking about it on a podcast like this, but it's not always so strategic or so thought out, but maybe later on you can do a joint venture webinar together and promote your product to their list, or maybe they can do that for your list. And lots of other new doors start to open, and it all comes from just creating good stuff together. Yeah.
And there's so many different, 1,000 roads lead to Rome, and I'm into podcasts right now too, for sure. But okay, back to you. So tell us about your story engines.
Yeah. So the story engine, the name of the website, the name of the book, the name of the podcast, all started with the Story Engine book, which was my second book. And I decided to write this book in pretty much January 1st, 2016. I was teaching at a university at the time, or just right before that. And I was teaching at a class, and I was really excited for it because I had just published the year before my first book, The College Entrepreneur. And I was really excited about the book. I thought it was a really good idea and wanted to kind of make an impact in that world. But after kind of trying to really make an impact in the university sphere and kind of working with just business schools and stuff, it wasn't really a good fit for me. And I found myself kind of out of a gig and had been neglecting my business and a lot of my own work. And that was kind of a solid reminder that it was like, hey, you need to, stick to what you're supposed to do. And that's be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, I had written this book, The College Entrepreneur, and it was just an important idea for me to share at the time. But now I was like, well, now I know how to do it. So let's write a book that'll actually help me grow my business. And so that's when I started the Story Engine. And the Story Engine is all about my process. A lot of the stuff that I learned while working with Dan Norris at WP Curve about how do you capture your story in a way that you can share with other writers, other creators, other collaborators, and they can understand where you're coming from, what you want to do, so that you're not the only one that's writing for your business, creating videos, creating all these things. Because what happened to Dan Norris, what's happening to me, what's happening to you, Eric, and what happens to a lot of us as we start to progress in our businesses and in our content is there just becomes too much work. We've got to start handing stuff off, even sometimes if it's stuff we're good at or stuff we like. And content is a very time consuming and challenging task. And so some of those things need to be offloaded. And I was always good at working with writers. And so the Story Engine is all about, getting clear on what's your content strategy and getting your basics down, like having a good style guide, which I include templates for, which I think is one of the reasons the book has been so successful is it's got just a lot of really useful templates that you can download to really implement the ideas, like a content strategy or an SEO campaign or an editorial calendar. But it just lays all of this out in a really simple, straightforward way, and has helped a lot of people get started with content marketing.
I can,
well,
go ahead.
So what was really interesting and kind of like speaks to my mindset development is the book came out in May of 2016. So I had gone, took about 4 months to complete and get published. And then, but I didn't really create, I had the storyengine.co, the website, but it was just a landing page for the book for a long time. But not until I started, I didn't start content marketing for myself until about September or October of that year when I started. And for some reason I was like, well, I said everything I needed in the book. I don't know what else I could create good stuff about. And then I realized like, oh man, I'm falling for this same kind of imposter syndrome that a lot of people, you know, come to me with, and I encourage them through. That's one of the things I think I do really well with when I'm teaching and coaching people. But I was like,
do you call it intermediate syndrome? I've heard this a lot around sports and extreme sports too. Have you heard that?
So I'm not sure about intermediate syndrome. The way I would define imposter syndrome, and maybe this is the same thing, but it's kind of like, it's when you feel like you're not quite there, or you don't have like something, you know, you're like, well, everybody's, you know, said this before, so what do I have to say? Or, you know, you kind of devalue your own work. So that kind of does sound like intermediate syndrome, and it maybe is the same thing. But yeah, so I was suffering from that a little bit, but people were loving the book. The book stayed a bestseller for a couple of months, you know, straight while it launched. And then for about, you know, for 18 months or so, probably averaged around, hopefully this is, I mean, we're talking to book publishers here, but it stayed around 10,000 in the Amazon rankings for
that's really good.
A long time. So, and I think that was the result of, you know, it was a good need. I kept the price really low on the book because of the templates that I had created made a way for me to collect emails from my book. And so I was building a list off of that, and that was more valuable to me than the book royalties. And so I was able to keep the ebook price really low, which I think helped with the rankings and helped with the visibility.
Cool.
And it became kind of the main growth driver for my list and my business. And I guess since then, it's helped me build my email list to about 5,000 people, which is now who get, you know, the new podcast updates and all of these things. And I wouldn't have, you know, believed it possible, but yeah, it just, you know, was a little bit every day. There was a couple of really big days. So this book really created the foundation for my business and my brand. And I, you know, had no idea what I was getting into when I was creating, but I'm so grateful for it now.
That's awesome. If you have a book in like a good category, like small business, for example, and it's up there, and so you get a lot of subscribers, and you got a list of 5,000, and that's interesting because a lot of the gurus out there say, oh, there's this 10,000 threshold, and that's where the big business starts. But you're pretty successful with 5,000.
Well, I'd say so, but I wouldn't say, like, right now in my business, there's kind of I would admit it's a little bit disjointed. My list and my followers, I still don't really monetize it that much. I'll do a couple of joint ventures. I'll allow people to do webinars to my list and make good offers that I think are valuable, and I'll make offers to my list. But I make a lot of the work I do, or most of my money I make working with health and wellness experts and helping them get clear on the real value in their stories. Again, kind of get clear on a good story, put it together in a presentation, and then put it together or set up an automated sales funnel around that for them so that they can give this presentation at scale.
Okay, so total. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So total beginner question.
Yeah.
Why is the story and the narrative so important?
Yeah. So the story and the narrative is so important because there is so much information these days that we all experience as humans in ads and our social media, scrolling on our phone. We're blasted by so much stuff. And the answer to any question, and not only the answer, but almost any answer we want to any question we want, is a Google search away. And so information has become very abundant in this world, but what's scarce is insight and trust. And what makes us trust each other is really understanding each other and our motives and why we do things. And so through telling stories about where we've came from and what we've seen and who we are, we can create that human connection that is that missing ingredient to a lot of online marketing and even offline marketing or sales in these days. It's understanding the who behind this and their vision, and is the vision compelling? It's maybe not just a vision of like, I want to grow my business and make a lot of money. It's like, I want to make a real impact on this world, and I want your help. I want to enroll you in helping me do that. And so if you can start to understand, though, again, there's three basic elements. It's why you're ordinary, why you're extraordinary, and why you care. So you've got to be ordinary. You've got to be like, hey, I'm just like you. I've seen the same things. I've suffered from the same problems. I know how it feels. But I'm also extraordinary. I've gone through this process. I've figured out the solution. And now I have something to help you get through this problem faster and easier than I did. Yeah. And finally, why you care. Like, why is this problem important to me? It's not enough that you're good at it, good at solving the problem. You have to like have a real reason behind this. And that's really what people resonate with these days. And so that's why stories are so great. And it's particularly great, again, with like the health and wellness professionals that I work with, who are usually very, very, very intelligent and scientific. And so they have a lot of challenges communicating in this way. And so working with them, we can help them make a lot of progress and grow their businesses in these ways.
That's cool. I'm getting all of these ideas now as you're talking, and I'm thinking about all this stuff. But so I went to your website, thestoryengine.co, and you have this awesome resource, a quiz that kind of goes through this and tailors then the response and the templates for the person taking the quiz. And then, well, why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah. So this is another fun piece of content that I've been working on, or I was working on a little bit near the end of last year. And so a new trend in content marketing these days is having really good interactive content. And you can see that probably almost a lot of people have been on sites like BuzzFeed or something and seen a quiz like, which Disney princess or Harry Potter character or Pokemon, something like that. But these quizzes can be really useful for small businesses and entrepreneurs too. Especially there's lots of different ways that a coach or even a company creating an assessment can use these tools to to create curiosity in their audience. People always like to get insights on themselves. Again, like for some reason, we feel good when we know that, we got Harry Potter and the which Harry Potter character quiz. And in the same way, like if you can give them if you can ask them in a series of a couple of questions and give them an insight, which is what I attempted to do in this,
Yeah.
which content strategy is best for you.
But I want to interrupt you there, sorry,
Yeah.
because you're downplaying the value of this tool you have on your website. So
Oh, yeah.
I want to tell everybody the storyengine.co, because I just did this today, and you've got, it's a tool, it's a resource, it's very valuable, and you've got something for everybody in there. It doesn't matter if you're a blogger, a book author, or a marketer, whatever. And you go through these series of questions, and they're really good. Even SEO is in there. And so when I got to the end, I think I'm the architect. And then I got this really detailed, 20-page template PowerPoint, and it's really, really good. So especially for beginners establishing anything. And I want to tell everybody just to, reiterate that, the storyengine.co, and this is a really good resource. And I'm filling out my template right now, and it's because I've been around the block quite many times, and I've seen what people give away for free. And this is a chargeable service, actually. No, okay, it's really good. I just want everybody to check it out. So I'm the architect, and what was that actually?
The architect is somebody who is really great at creating systems and making sense of complicated things. And the architect is somebody, I would say I'm an architect as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's somebody who's great at building templates and checklists and great downloadable items. And so by being able to, architect these templates, and you make things a lot easier for people. There's also people like the Rebel who have really great ideas, but they're contrarian, and they're kind of going against the grain, but they see what they're doing as important because they want to change the way things are done. They've got a better vision, and these people are really polarizing and exciting and energizing. It's a little bit of a rarer one on the results. There's also the comeback, which is another great one, and this is really good for I found with coaches in particular. It's somebody who has, hit a big snag or rock bottom with a problem or a challenge, but then has crawled out of the hole, has figured out how to solve this problem, and now have a process to help other people do it. Maybe
should people start with your book or with this, or your website with the quiz?
If the Story Engine book is, it's very easy. It's very, again, very affordable on Amazon. It's only $3.99 for Kindle, but it's also available in paperback and Audible. So if you want kind of a complete picture, that's a great place to start. But the quiz is something you can do right now. The storyengine.co/quiz. It's just 10 questions long, and you can get that template that you mentioned is my content strategy template. And you are right. That is by far the most popular download in the book. It's by far my most popular and most useful lead magnet I've ever created. And it has, that's the tool that has helped me grow my business. And it's what I use when I have worked with clients and helping them develop content strategies. That's my tool. It's my tool when I'm creating my own content for my own site. It's really powerful, and it makes, again, this kind of really big task of like, what do I need to do to really make this content happen? It should add a lot of clarity. And what's the best part about it is this is something, again, it's designed to be so that if I bring on somebody onto my team, I can share that strategy with them and say, this is where we're going. And they know what that means.
And it's an awesome example of content marketing. So you've got the book on Amazon, which points people to it. And then you have the blog and SEO, I guess, or, the blog and organic reach traffic pointing to it, to your free lead magnet. So it's an excellent example of content marketing in itself.
Absolutely. Yeah. Walking the walk for sure. I love making content these days. Yeah. And executing it for my own business. Again, like making kind of long form blog posts for other businesses is challenging unless you are like, that's why I think it's the best when the coach themselves or the founder themselves, you know, really wants to figure out how to share their stories and kind of learns the ropes there. Because I think those are the people that end up really creating the great stuff.
Yeah. Before I forget, are you doing anything to keep your book in? Because this is kind of a book-centric podcast. So are you doing anything to keep your book up in the rankings?
Absolutely. So I'm doing a lot of Amazon ads right now. For a long time, I was in the sponsored products ads. So anytime I was just looking up different authors who were my competition in different books and making sure that anytime somebody searched for them, that my book would appear. And so I'm really impressed with Amazon, but I've been profitably advertising my book on Amazon. So the ads generate enough revenue from just the book royalties to justify themselves.
Nice.
And so it's not a huge, like I don't have a lot of ad spend on a daily basis, but it's just a nice, but the system's set up and it's profitable and it keeps my book visible. And I think that has been one of the reasons why it stayed in the rankings. And recently I'm experimenting also with product display ads. And even the Kindle lock screen ads.
Yeah. So are you doing these yourselves or you got a manager?
No, I'm doing those all myself.
That's cool. Yeah, I've had a lot of success with them in 2016 when they were new, you know, like low-hanging fruit, and holy cow, it was so easy. I shot some of my books up to #1 in some decent categories. Oh, wow. And now, you know, I'm at that point where, okay, now I got to get better. And it's not, you can't just keep using the same keywords and stuff. I haven't had any luck with product display ads. Have you?
Again, it's only been a couple of weeks. I could probably look it up right now and give you, I'm honestly, you know, I'm trying it out because I haven't done it. I'm not as confident in that as sponsored products. But yeah, we'll see.
I got a free course for you. It's on my Facebook Live. It's a masterclass, you know, it's a series. It's kind of rough because I'm experimenting with Facebook Live right now. But, you know, this is the bane of infopreneurs like me, where you make a course. I made a course for Amazon ads, and I made a course for Facebook ads. And then, boom, they changed their interface. They changed everything. So, okay, have to redo all 37 videos now. Thanks, you know. So, so I did make a new one. Like I said, it's on Facebook Live. I'll shoot you a link later after the course.
That'd be great.
And then you get my tips. And I got some pretty good ones, you know. I've been talking to Derek Depker and the big guns. So just recently I did a podcast with Brian Burney, and he's a master of Amazon ads. So that podcast is coming out next week. So lots of tips about Amazon ads. I super highly recommend them, especially for people to learn paid advertising. They should start there and not with Facebook, because Facebook will blow thousands of dollars a day if you let them, but Amazon ads won't. So they're nicer to beginners, you know. Yeah,
definitely. So, or Google. I remember when I first started with Google AdWords, they sent me like a free $100 coupon, and I set up my account and it was running for a little while, and then I thought like my coupon would run out and my ads would stop, but they didn't. So I was just like,
you learned the hard way.
Oh yeah.
How many thousands did that put you back?
Luckily, I think it was just like $500 or something. But
no, that makes me feel good because I only lost 200.
Yeah.
Thank you. So you mentioned earlier, there's a time, I don't know if it was intermediate syndrome, that's what I was calling it, where you have to offload something like writing your blog posts, even if you like that part of the content marketing. So I have to ask you this now that I got you here. I've got this one book, one of my best lead magnets, a free book in Amazon, How to Make a Create Space Book, How to Painlessly Create a Create Space Book. And then same story, boom, Amazon turned off create space. Now you have to go to KDP print, right? And people are thinking, they're still saying create space when they mean KDP print nowadays. It's synonymous, right? So now I have to update my book. And I'm thinking of making a totally new one or updating the old one. So who should, I don't know, should I outsource it? And who would you outsource it to?
So if I were to outsource writing, I guess, well, I'll tell you a story of what I did for one client and how I wrote.
There you go, story engine. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's one approach that I've used before. So, and this will be good because it also involves Facebook Lives. So you'll like this for multiple reasons. Yeah. So I was working with this doctor who's had actually a really big impact on my life and my health. Her name is Dr. Grace Liu, and she is a genius at gut health, which is a new kind of a relatively new form of health, gut health. So like
you mean
intestinal health. Yeah.
Oh, sounds cool.
Yeah. So it turns out that a lot of your mood, your energy, your creativity, the gut is your second brain. And so for some people, you know, there's a lot of different bacteria that live inside of your body and inside of your system.
Yep.
And a lot of the bacteria are good for you and help take care of you. But sometimes we, you know, can mess that up if we get a parasite or we take a really strong antibiotic and we kind of wipe out all of the good and the bad bacteria, but then new bad bacteria come and recolonize and messes things up. Anyway, so this condition is called Sibo. And so she works with...
What was that? Sibo?
It's called Sibo, S-I-B-O, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And
okay.
It's not so much fun.
Sounds good.
But so she's an expert in treating this. And so we put together a mini course called 7 Steps to Heal Sibo. And these were things like eat fermented foods. Anyway, the details are irrelevant right now, but each day she would go on to Facebook Live and she would teach for 15 to 30 minutes about each of the 7 ideas. And at the end, she was promoting kind of a bigger gut health course that she was selling that also included some of her best supplements and some tests that you can, some take-home tests that you can use to kind of learn about your own health. So for 7 days, she would speak for, again, 15 to 30 minutes. I downloaded those videos and sent them to rev.com to be transcribed.
Right, I've used them.
Yeah. And so then we had the transcriptions, and that turned out about a 30-minute video at her pace. Turns out to be around 5,000 words. And so then I took this to a writer, and I said, hey, will you take this and cut it down to about half the words and make it look more like an article or a book chapter? And so we took, 30,000 so words and condensed them around to a nice kind of 70-page, nice small book, and through using all of, the methods that you teach really well and you share with your audience, positioning my book and preparing for a great launch with KDP. I found a good category, launched it in there, and we had a bestseller for a couple of months long. And it was just through, again, getting a good transcription. I think having a transcription and then giving that to a writer is much better than it just gives the writer a lot more to work with. It gives them a good foundation instead of just telling them to research stuff on their own or figure out something, especially when they need to write in your voice. But in the case of, like, if you want to rework the book and rewrite it, there's probably somebody who is sufficiently experienced, that could be a ghostwriter. Or, if you wanted to do it just in that style, I would find ways to just talk through the different updates to the book that you want, and try that approach to adding in the new chapters. Or just, I mean, if you just really want to, I would probably, if I were you, I would just go back to the document and do a find and replace, create space with Kindle print.
That's the cheapo poor man's hack. That's probably the one I'm going to do too. No, that's really, really good advice too with the Facebook Live. And I found another hack too. Did you know that when you upload your videos to YouTube, it will make automatic captions and transcription, and you can download it. However, there's all sorts of these time marks and stuff. So there's a lot of rework too. And Rev isn't that expensive anyway. So yeah, that is a really, really, really cool tip. Thank you very much. I'm going to think about that. And I will also think about the poor man's version. And yeah, so that's a special problem of infopreneurs, because every time you make a course around somebody else's platform, and then they update the platform, then great, So, all right, you were talking about books. So what's on the horizon for you?
So on the horizon now, I've been really steeped in books myself recently, and I am in the home stretch of my third book, which will be called Selling with Story, which is kind of a reflection of, again, how I've evolved in my content philosophy too. I've created this book. I love the story engine because it gives you the great long game strategy to succeed in building a brand. But this book, what I really wanted to do with this one is, how do we get you results right now and get you some revenue with your story, so that you can really invest in your business and go all in, so that you have time, and money to create this content that will change the world. So I've been writing my next book called Selling with Story. We are in the editing phase right now.
When's it going to be out?
I believe it'll be out in April or May. I'm taking a vacation to Switzerland in March, which I'm really looking forward to.
Skiing?
But a little bit of skiing will happen for sure. Yeah, we got to start and end with a little ski talk. But yeah, so right now we've just finished kind of the idea editing. I can't remember what the proper term for that is. There's a smarter way to say it, but
editing, line editing or something like that.
Well, now we're in the line editing, which I think is like, the proofreading, punctuation thing here, where before we were like, I don't know if your idea is really well developed here, or you're not very clear there, which so we've worked through it a couple of times in this book, where it's interesting with both the college entrepreneur and the story engine. I both started writing them in January, published them in May. It took about 4 months for each of them. That was a relatively fast timeline, but this one has taken over a year. There's been a couple of times, or maybe a short burst where I'll write the first part, or I'll write out a lot of my ideas, then it'll kind of disappear, and or I'll have other work to do, and it'll get kind of put on the back burner. And honestly, from like October to December, I hated this book. I was so frustrated with it. I was like, this isn't that useful. It's too convoluted. I'm just like, I'm over this thing. And that's when I wanted to bring on kind of somebody to do the idea editing and see how we could clean it up. But again, kind of probably more imposter syndrome stuff. They were like, this book's really good. I don't know what you're talking about. But, all of the authors out there probably, understand that love-hate relationship with your books that happens sometimes. Yeah. But so I'm glad to say that I've passed through it, and I'm going to be employing all of those same strategies that I've used in the story engine, putting together really great templates, really great resources. I'm putting together a new quiz. This one will be the funnel builder quiz. So it'll ask you a couple of different questions and then give you a recommendation on what tools might be the best options for you to build your sales funnel with.
Awesome. Is
There
there
will
going
be
to
a
be
lot.
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, there's lots of tips on speaking and storytelling. The full part one and probably a good first half of the book is just really useful, actionable storytelling tips that you can use while on podcasts, while speaking on stages, while on a webinar, while writing a blog post, whatever you're on, or even just in face-to-face conversations. And so he'll set you up. Then part two is all about putting together your story in a really good automated system. And then part three is all about getting that offer, getting your message and your system and your offer out in front of as many people as possible.
Three-part book. Awesome. Sounds really cool. Is there going to be a pre-sale phase or early bird pricing or something like that?
Probably what I will do is I will create a launch team. And so people will
put me on it. Put me on it.
You're on it for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so anybody interested will be able to get early access to the book, maybe a month, maybe 2 weeks before the official launch date, where you'll get the PDF copy totally for free. And then as the launch day approaches, just, I'll release it on Amazon, probably just for, I don't like the releasing for free anymore, but I love releasing for 99 cents. So release for 99 cents and have the whole launch team ready with a good review to start out with a strong launch. And hopefully my keywords and my categories I've picked out are all ripe for success.
Nice. I don't know how good you are at launching, but Steve Scott has a really good article called The 99-Cent Launch. So I'm also not into free launches anymore either. It's amazing because people spend $5 on a Starbucks coffee and they won't, they don't want to spend $3 for a book that's like real value, So I think 99 cents minimum,
Yeah. Well, I like 99 cents. Again, I'm not attached to the price of my book, but launching it for free, the problem with free is that Amazon ranks free in a totally different store. So you can, if you've got all of this momentum in a launch team and everybody downloads it for free, that doesn't do anything in the paid rankings, which is really where you want to be on Amazon. But 99 cents is pretty much free. I mean, if your friends are too cheap to buy the 99-cent book, then, you just know where your friends are. That's a real low bar to jump over.
Yeah, it is. I mean, exactly. I mean, you spend more for a coffee every day.
Yeah. So,
yeah, go ahead.
But again, and so just 99 cents will really help you climb in the paid ranking. And I think that's what's going to get you the orange bestseller tag, which, I never get tired of seeing.
Of course not. Especially in a good category, right?
Absolutely.
Are you going to do KDP Select or go wide?
Select.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the thing. They favor the books in Select. The algorithm, you'll just get more eyes on it,
They've spoiled me. They reach out so many times. At least 2 or 3 times, Amazon has reached out to me and said, hey, this book is really good. We're going to promote it to our email list for you. And I think
that's gold.
Part of it's because I've been playing ball with them. But yeah, there was one day where I made the top 500 in Amazon.
Wow.
Promotions.
Wow. Yeah. So you're going to retire like Tim Ferriss now, huh?
Oh, I would love that. Yeah, but I need to get a couple more books done before the retirement fund. Yeah, the royalties they're definitely paying the rent, which is lovely, and I'll never get sick of that either. But yeah, there's still a lot of work to be done to keep the lights on. Yeah,
that's the thing. There's the organic sales, and then there's the spikes from the launches, and I really don't concentrate on the spiky #1 launches because the books that make me the most money are my organic books that aren't even anywhere near #1, So, and then the books where I get up to #1 with the launch, then they don't sustain. So I'm really into the organic stuff right now. I mean, I'm not putting down launches, but my 1 or 2 books that are making the organic sales are just they're screaming at me. They're impressive. Say, here's the money, man. Get that organic traffic going somehow. Content marketing, right? So.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, the story engine's been life-changing in that. Again, it's not a huge amount, but it's been just a nice, consistent revenue. And I really, I would love to see the same through selling with story, though also, I would love it to, I'm excited to use it to build my audience even more, to continue to find ways to, serve them, to develop more products again for kind of the larger base of audience instead of just working with the high-end clients. And I think, the more I can put myself in a position to just create more content for amazing people, the happier I'll be.
So is this third book going to be on your website? Where can we find it?
The storyengine.co will now be kind of my home base, my home brand, similar to like Tim Ferriss. He kind of just built everything around the 4-Hour Workweek website. Cool. So I do have sellingwithstory.co, and that's where kind of the landing page of the book will be. But if you want to go to the storyengine.co, if you download the strategy template, you'll be on my list, and you'll be notified as the book gets closer. I don't have any official announcements out yet or any ways you can join the launch team, but I'll be making those very soon and starting to have some special goodies for my list.
Nice. Awesome. And I just want to reiterate, thestoryengine.co. Everybody should really go there and do his quiz. You get the template afterwards. It's really high value. And until your third book comes out. And where else can we reach you online?
That's going to be most of it. I am active on Instagram at Kyle the Gray 23. It's not really a great handle, but also on Twitter at Kyle the Gray. And I don't post a lot on Twitter, but I check it, and I'm always psyched when somebody tweets at me or messages me on there. I'm pretty responsive.
Cool. Okay, before I ask my last question, is there anything else that I forgot or you want to say?
Thank you so much. If you have been listening to this whole conversation and just enjoying what we've been talking about, I really appreciate you taking the time to share this conversation with us. So thank you to all the listeners out there.
Yeah, thank you. And I do have a question.
Yeah.
What's your number one tip for beginning authors or entrepreneurs?
Make friends. Find, I think that all of the biggest, leaps forward in my life have been because somebody else, wanted to give me a chance, gave me an opportunity, saw some potential, and, wanted to collaborate. And that came from being curious, being open-minded, being value giving, and always wanting to give and help people. And, you want to add value to your audience, but you want to add value to your peers and become known amongst your peers. And I think that's the way to really level yourself up and succeed in business.
Yeah. I don't know if I mentioned it. It's a quote in your, in the video. We don't make the big leaps forward in our life alone. They come from relationships.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, I stand by that to this day.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kyle. thestoryengine.co. Everybody go there. I'm the architect. I've got to go finish my architect template, and I'm going to go do that right now. I'm pretty stoked. And thanks again, Kyle, for your time. It's been real. And I've been doing Power Author Sundays, my new Facebook Live series. I want to reserve you for that.
Absolutely.
Coolness. Thanks again, Kyle.
Thank you, Eric. It's been so much fun. And once again, thanks everybody for listening.
Right on. Okay, my friends, if you like that podcast, then remember to go to zbooks.co
and go get all the materials to start your authoring career. We have a 7-day challenge every week, so there's no excuse to not finish your book. And remember, please go to iTunes and upvote this podcast and Google Play. Okay, I look forward to seeing you at the top.